I can't tell you how excited I am about the show. I'm glad you guys downloaded it because it's going to be a good one. I can't tell you any person that I have enjoyed calling matches for more than Shawn Michaels. And Shawn Michaels joins us from his ranch at an unknown location somewhere in the state of Texas. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing very good, JR. Thank you very much.
How's the family? Good?
Everybody's wonderful, yep.
Good.
Enjoying spring and finally getting out and, mowing lawns and, planting fields and stuff like that. So it's good that, all the cold weather's gone and spring is here. So kids got another daughter finishes school this week, my son next week. So we're hitting the summer early.
Good, man. Good. I had, some people that watch your show on Outdoor Channel, Outdoor Network, right? Outdoor Network.
Outdoor Channel.
Outdoor Channel. I had it right the first time. McMillan River Adventures saw my epic hog hunt with Shawn, and that was and Keith Mark, of course, and Josh. Can't leave Josh out. Josh might be listening. Yeah. And that hog is like talking to an old wrestler about how big the house was when he had the belt.
Well, no, we were excited to have you down, and we're actually we are going to get rid of all the hogs this year. They're tearing everything up.
Man.
They just a bunch of more females were out there than I thought, JR, and they have multiplied. So we are gonna, in about 2-3 weeks, Keith and Josh going to come down here. We're not even filming it. We are just got to get rid of them. Obviously, we got my taxidermist has got a church that is going to take the meat, and we are just going to do everything we can to get rid of them because they are tearing up all my pastures and just just wreaking havoc down here. So I've done all I could to keep them down, but they're just getting out of control, so they got to go.
And those that don't understand, it's an epidemic, and they are very, very destructive. The other thing you mentioned there in passing was that your taxidermist and his church, the fact that these animals are given, as I understand it, to like a Texas food bank, and all the meat goes to people that need it.
Yeah, well, there's two ways to do it. I mean, he has a local church that we give most of ours to, but in the past, if we weren't keeping it, or if our freezers were full, there's Hunters for the Hungry, which between obviously across the nation, Hunters and Outdoorsmen feed 250 million people a year.
That's awesome, and I think that's when I see the occasional tweet of someone saying, I know when I sent out pictures of that massive hog, it was folks, I'm telling you, it was the size of a pickup truck. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. But I sent out these pictures, of this killing this hog. Man, I got some fiery retorts from other people saying, "How could you be so cruel?" And what do you, what are you? What kind of animal are you to kill a hog?
Well, we get it all the time, and that's something. It's funny. Keith told me about that before he first started doing the show. Of course, raised here in Texas, hunting's a normal thing, and I didn't really know what he was talking about. And then, of course, it was a huge uproar with people, and people don't understand all animals. They need to be managed. Left to their own, they die much more miserable deaths. Starvation, disease, and things like that. Probably about 2 months after you left. Heck, my wife and I were just up in the morning, and all of a sudden I looked outside and I saw this deer. It looked like he was shaking, and all of a sudden there was another one with him. And it took me a while. And finally, I pulled up my Bushnells and I got got the binos on him, and there were two deer locked together. They fight, and they were locked together. The one was already dead. The one had already broken one's neck, and went down there, did everything I could to get him apart. Because he was blown up. I mean, we couldn't move, and so I could get up on him every now and then. And finally, I thought, okay, well, the only way to get him apart is to saw one of the antlers. So ran back, back up to the barn. Got a saw, got down there again, tried to get on him, and boy, he ran me over, about gored me. And one of those things, unfortunately, and two good deer, had to put him down. But they'll the older ones, these were two decent deer, and that's why neither one of them would get up. But the older deer get killed by the younger deer, and so I mean, it's our job to manage them. And if you know anything about conservation, which again, majority of people don't. I mean, they say they do, but they don't. Animals, all of them, every one of them, they have to be managed. And PETA will go through more animals this year than I will likely in my entire lifetime. So you you learn to roll with that stuff. I don't worry about it too much.
Yeah, good. Well, it's just good information for people to know that there's a method behind this hunting madness, and that people are managing these herds and they're managing these animals. And a fan tweeted me and asked me, what did you do with the bison that you killed on Standing Rock Sioux Reservation?
Oh yeah, we brought the meat home. I mean, we were allowed to have about a quarter of it, and then the tribe kept the rest. But I'm telling you, bison burger is phenomenal.
Yep.
And heck, as you know, JR, heck, we live on 80% wild game. Rebecca's just gotten phenomenal with cooking it, and it's why I'm much heavier now than I was when I was wrestling, because I am enjoying my retirement to the fullest.
Good. And that bison's lean, and it's good, good protein.
So is venison. I mean, deer is, and everything. I mean, it's a ton leaner.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing is, people always think, well, we just got to cook it the right way. It's just more preparation. That's all it is. I mean, it's phenomenal. Of course, when we take really good care. I mean, I plant. That's what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm planting the food plot tomorrow, and the next day, and protein. I mean, we take really good care of them as best we can, and that helps the meat as well. The better they eat, they're like us. The better they eat, the more healthy they'll be.
Grain fed, man. That's down that big money aisle at the grocery store. If you could,
I was just going to say, cut down on our grocery bill considerably.
It's a good deal. So things are rolling well in the McMillan River Adventures. I'm assuming you guys are gearing up for the fall. We launched a new TV season this fall, or is that what's the timeline on that?
Tuesday. I believe the premiere, the debut air date this year is July 1st.
Okay. Cool.
Tuesday nights, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and then 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturdays. Starting up again, and then we're going to go with JBL and Michael Cole and fish in Bermuda this year and enter the big tournament there.
The Marlin tournament?
For the Marlin tournament, and we're gonna air that. And obviously, as you know, John does so much good stuff there in Bermuda with the young kids and his mountain climbing, and we want to tell that story, and obviously show a side of JBL that one he probably doesn't want shown because he's such a good guy in real life. But we're gonna tell it anyway.
People ask me about that all the time. I said, Ben, don't you ever get pissed off about JBL knocking you on Raw? And I said, no. He that stuff is he plays a villain on. His name's really not JBL.
Yeah.
Well, but he knocks you on television sometimes. I said, yeah, but it keeps me alive in the minds of the fans, and so no, I don't really get too upset about it. That's kind of his role. He's a bad guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think one of the things certainly those of us that you've learned not to take any of it very seriously, and God bless the fans. I mean, they if it wasn't for them, you guys like you and me wouldn't have much.
That's right.
But you do learn certainly, and when you step away, that there are a lot of folks out there, even though they have a tendency to say, I know it's this and I know it's that, but they still are pretty certain that we think and walk around as wrestlers 24/7 when, and I'm probably the worst at it. I never do. And found it hard to even do it when I was at work sometimes, which obviously was not a great thing. But no, I mean, John, as you know, like John does some very, very good things in his real life. And
yeah, he does.
as I say, he probably doesn't want anybody killing off his big heat, but it's a story we want to tell.
He's like a lot of us. He overmarried. He's got, He got
well, as you say, one of the best comments I ever heard you. Certainly outkicked your coverage there.
Oh, yeah. Way outkicked the coverage, and him and Michael do a good job, and Michael. I think Michael just does a terrific job on the shows. It's a different show than what I did. It's a different style. He's asked to do different things than I was asked. It's not the same role that I had. It's not fair to compare him to me. It's not fair to compare me to Gordon Soley. Everybody had their thing. Everybody did their deal. And so,
all of it's changing.
Sure.
And that's, I can remember when I first broke in, everybody telling me to slow down and to do this and do that. And I felt that it was changing as a number of other people. And it's a business that progressively does that. Who am I to say that it's changing the wrong way? I mean, it's continued to do that over the 30 years. I was involved in it and still involved in it. And that's what it's supposed to do. So I don't worry about it too much. It always seems to, if it needs to be corrected, it seems to self-correct itself. And so, I don't give a lot of it, much thought.
Right. The bottom line of how the trends of the business is that there's this thing called economics and buying tickets and television ratings that always kind of factor into, well, maybe we're going the wrong direction, because you'll get tapped on the shoulder that something isn't getting over, or the presentation isn't quite right, needs to be tweaked a little bit by the empty seats or the television ratings or whatever it may be. And the good thing about it is that you can change it. You can call a different play, call it audible.
And there are so many different aspects of it now that weren't the same as before. I mean, we've all made our arguments and everybody's got them, but they're just, there are a number of different things in play that we don't even know about, and that the people, in the know, they whatever. I mean, where you and I would say, well, it's a quarter hour rating. Don't worry about it.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? But those things have to be worried about by somebody. And so, and again, those are just aspects I never got into. I didn't worry. My job was to get in the ring and wrestle good matches. So that's all I focused on, and I figured I'd let the people that were smarter than me and were hired to think about that stuff. I was hired to wrestle, and so that's what I did, and didn't worry about too much else.
Yeah, and I
still don't.
And as I said many times, if somebody says who's the greatest of all time, well, that's a very subjective question. But in my mind, nobody was ever better than you, and nobody. And I know that Flair gets a lot of. But, before Flair, there were other guys that were really – Buddy Rogers was really good. And Gorgeous George changed the whole culture of the business back in the day. But so there's a lot of really greats that affected all of our livelihoods and all of our direction and where we are. But, athletically, psychologically, and putting it all together, nobody did it better than you did, period, in my view. And that's
that's obviously high praise coming from you, and I appreciate it. But it's still, it's funny when you're doing your promos, you tell everybody you're the greatest. And there was a time that I worried about it and thought about it, and that time has long since passed. I worry about being a good dad.
Yeah,
that's my priority, and all that other stuff will. I get very thankful for it. I'm very appreciative, to get mentioned in anything when it, involves, something positive, and there's always negatives that come along with it. But as you said, it's subjective, and at the end of the day, there's going to be, there's going to come a time that I'm going to stand before someone, and on that final judgment, and he's not going to ask me about my wrestling. So I always try to keep that stuff in mind, and
good advice.
Again, I think about where I'm at now, and raising my kids and hanging out with them, and trying to be a good husband, and and a good buddy to my friends and stuff like that. And it's nice to have the time to do that and to focus on that stuff.
Shawn, what did you think of the Undertaker streak ending at WrestleMania 30? Were you as surprised as I was?
Oh yeah. Oh, I was shocked. And I guess even afterwards, I'm somewhat amused. You check your Twitter and we hear the stories that are out there, and none of them are accurate. And everybody was stunned. And you know as well as I do. One person alone makes that call, and it's as much as everyone wants to think other people have some say so on that, they don't. So yeah, I was stunned, and like a lot of people, and I've never asked. I was there when it all happened. I know, what happened, and but that's it's I make the calls around here in my house. That's the way things go, and again for me, I'm leaving the next day, and I'm sure in Vince's mind, he's got a reason, and so that's fine for me, and quite honestly, none of it's my business anyway, so I don't worry about it. I'm sitting right there, so I get privy to all of it, but at the same time, I just grab my bag and go home like everybody else.
Yeah, I said this on a podcast that because I was shocked that it happened. I actually watched the WrestleMania from the hotel because I was writing a column for Fox Sports as the show was progressing, and then I had to finish it up like a real sports writer, and when the game was over, so to speak, and finish up my last paragraph, and and as the clock wound down to 0, the score was whatever. So I watched it at the hotel, and I'm just floating along there, and actually watched it from the green room, and when I saw what went down, I said, wait a minute, that can't be, that can't happen, you can't lose. So here's the deal. Here's what I told somebody. I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the decision for the streak to end didn't happen at the 11th hour or the weekend of. Could have.
I can tell you 4 hours.
Okay, so 4 hours before the show. Okay, so the other thing is that, which is interesting, if the reason was it was time and it was you're looking for something to shock and to really get people to flock to the WWE network, and it was the guy's 49 years old, and nobody, and you and I both know, nobody respects Mark Calloway more than you and me. My God, right. He's the man. I mean, he's Sam Houston. He's John Wayne. He's all those things. He's Davy Crockett. He's wherever you want him to be. He's bigger than life. So I saw him at the Hall of Fame about a little bit longer than I saw you, sitting in the makeup chair, just combing your hair, of course. But I said, we hugged, and I said, how you doing, big man? He said, I'm good. And I said, how many more of these you think you got in you? And I was BSing. I'm glad to see him, and he looked good and lean, and I hugged him, and man, he was, solid. And he said, I don't know. He said, I'll let you know in a few hours. So, I thought, we don't know. I don't know how he feels. He's had surgeries. He's had hips and shoulders and labrums and rotator cuffs and, my gosh, knees. And it's not an easy business. He's played a lot of games. It may have been time, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, and, I think, all those things are true. I mean, at the end of the day, I need to stop using that phrase. It's a banned phrase at the end of the day. But ultimately, all those things, they're true, that you said, but it still has no bearing on, the outcome of the match.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a decision that's made. One person makes it, and everyone has to abide by it. It's just that simple.
Yep.
And the reasons for that, I don't know. I don't know. You don't know,
Nope.
and I'm sure he does, and
That's good enough.
Like Mark said a number of times, he's like, I've got the worst record with that man. but let's put it this way. I know, I could find out all the ins and outs and stuff like that. I have no desire to. It was, again, not my business.
Right.
And so, in my personal opinion, I think, I would have liked to have seen Taker, undefeated and then retire. But,
yeah.
That's not my decision to make.
Yeah.
And, other than that, I'll reserve all my opinions and everything else to myself.
I'm with you.
Hey,
I'm still mad at Bruce. I'm still mad at Bruce Dern for shooting John Wayne in the back and the Cowboys. Damn him.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So,
biggest heel in history.
Yeah. So, well, you think that Taker's wrestled his last match?
I don't know.
If you're just guessing,
I don't know.
I
know he was banged up afterwards. I texted him and he just we shared some pleasantries and whatnot, and he said that I'll contact you in a few weeks when I find out the number of that bus that hit me and feel better,
right.
feel better and stuff like that. He's got some outdoor stuff he wants to talk about. So
cool.
My answer, I have no idea. And again, that's what I think. I just don't think it's my place to pry. And
I'm with you.
Again, whatever decision he makes, I support it.
Me too.
And that's that.
I so much respect for him. Whatever he wants to do is cool with me. I was so blessed at WrestleMania 25 when I wasn't exactly on the good list, and I was given the opportunity to help broadcast your match with him in Houston. And I can't think of a more perfect match. I thought, well, if I don't ever call another big match, this is great. This is the way you should go out. And I've always believed that. Then I called one more Undertaker match at WrestleMania 28 when he wrestled Hunter, and you were the referee. And that was it. And
we as you know, we lost the fight to get you in 26. It all depends on whatever the day and stuff like that.
We tried, right?
But no, and that was phenomenal. That was a phenomenal match. And
which one do you like the better? Which of the two? Do you have a favorite of the two?
But what, between Taker and I?
25 or 26.
Yeah, it's tough. I like them both for different reasons. Obviously with my career on the line, that obviously added something. I think from a pure, just all around match standpoint, I think everybody would agree that 25 might, edge out 26. But because as you know, it's very tough to follow something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And but at the same time, that was sort of the gauntlet that was thrown down. And you know me, you can't really, I could like, okay, well that sounds like fun to try to do.
Right.
And you throw in the added stipulation, and then you got something. But it's I felt that 25 was I've always said I don't think you can wrestle a perfect match, but I think that was about as close as you can get. And I felt like probably the closest I'm ever going to get. And I think those are the kind for me that I like to end on. And I think 26 was because of the emotion behind that, I think we did follow it, and that's just something I say, like, that's good for me. Time to reholster the gun, but let everybody know that it's empty. And could I go out there and do something again with somebody else? Yeah, but I feel like I don't know. You don't get that many opportunities to end it on which feels like that perfect note, and I just don't like to. I'm just one of those people that don't like to mess with that kind of story.
Yeah,
just for a paycheck, so to speak.
I've told only a very few people, just friends, of the after WrestleMania 26 in Phoenix, where I didn't get the assignment to call your match, which I was PO'd about, and so just to be honest, and this is my podcast, so I can be honest, and I ain't no vendetta. Just I was disappointed. Now, who wouldn't be disappointed if that's what you do for a living, and you've been doing it for a long time, and you didn't get to call that match, knowing what was at stake and how the lay of the land was? You darn right, I was disappointed. But what really was unique, and I'm going to write about it someday in some form, I hope, is after the event, and all those tour buses were parked in that circle, that square, across from the hotel, and everybody was kind of hanging. That little group of guys, you and Taker and a few other guys were kind of hanging in that little area, and all of a sudden we all kind of realized it's like 6 a.m. or whatever the heck it was. It was like an all-nighter, but it wasn't like people say, "Oh, they had an all-nighter." It wasn't like an all-nighter, like it was out of control, insane party. It was almost like a family reunion, or it's like I don't know how to describe it, but it was probably one of the most unique experiences of my entire life. And by the time that I finally got to my room, it was daylight. I wasn't pissed off anymore. I was disappointed I didn't get to call the match, but I wasn't mad, because I had just had this amazing experience with two guys that I just think the world of, and thought, man, how lucky am I? That was a cool deal.
That's the thing. I mean, at the and both of them, 25 and 26. Because I never went to the after stuff or anything like that in those years. And as you said, the all nighters weren't like the all nighters of many years ago. But that was what was so enjoyable, and just spending that time. And it's funny. Mark and I got gotten so much closer in our later years, and especially those last 2 years. And it was just, for most folks, you're going to Raw the next day, and it's often running to the next one. And it was just great to be able to take that time and to take it in, let it soak in, and just enjoy it with each other. And we don't get that opportunity, or we didn't get that opportunity much, at WrestleMania, because there's an old famous saying, at Raw the next day. Well, that was yesterday, and it's time to look to next year. And and that's what, again, even with the retirement. I mean, it's people get on me about how I haven't watched a match in 4 years. I haven't watched. I did what I always do. I watch it once when I get home and see if I like it, and then I put them away and I don't watch them. But I live on the memories and that time, that time of just being with those individuals. That's what means the most to me, and I choose to just think about that, and those are the things that I enjoy, not sitting there watching the match 100 times over or things of that nature. It's getting to be with the real people and spending real time with them.
Yeah, I just I'm the same way. I have never in my career gone back and watched an entire pay-per-view that I ever broadcast, ever, because I'm my own worst critic, and I would, as hard as Vince was on me at times on the headsets while the match was going on, just trying to make everything perfect is what he was trying to do. I get it. And he wasn't the first alpha male perfectionist that I ever worked for, by the way. Nothing. Everything was cool, but I was even worse than him on me, because I wouldn't. My wife said, "Let's watch." Okay, you watch it. I'm going to go out in the yard, or I'll go to the gym, get on the treadmill, or I'll go down to Sonic and get something to drink. I'll see you later. You had that 4-year absence where you're hurt and you're burned out, and everything was just time to step away. Can you relate to, maybe better than some, of what CM Punk apparently has gone through, and where he abruptly kind of left a pretty good spot? The guys, well, I earned my spot. Well, he had earned a really good spot, and I'm sure he made some pretty good money, but he seemingly was burned out. Can you relate to his? And I know you probably haven't talked to him, but just his plight. Can you understand what? Because some people can't get it. That how could you leave something so idealistic, and it's not really that cool sometimes.
Yeah, no, I can easily get it. I mean, for sure. And because the thing is, if you're, I don't know, I'm sure there are some people who aren't good at it that still do it the same way, but, you know, the money and all that comes as a result of, you know, being passionate about it and loving it and really enjoying doing it. And when all those things sort of leave, you know, if you're the type of person that, you know, is really connected to the gig, the money's not enough to keep you there. And if it is, then you're probably not one of those, I don't know, I always say deep, you know, one of those guys that, you know, I can't do it if I don't enjoy it. That's, you know, and so no, I mean, I guess to answer your question, I totally understand, and I've, you know, I knew Punk, you know, fairly well, but, you know, not as well as obviously some people. I have no idea what was going on, wasn't there, don't know, I've never asked. Again, another one of those things, I'm fine with everything not being my business. That doesn't matter to me, but when it was all said and done, I think he was unhappy, and he's the kind of guy that doesn't want to do the job if he's not going to enjoy himself doing it, and I totally relate to that.
Yeah, I think I can see some comparisons between you and CM Punk in the intensity and the being a perfectionist in the ring and being happy, quite frankly, and not just doing what you do for a payday. And, hey, Shawn, I think this is a great place right now to end the conversation for this week. But, folks, we're going to have Shawn Michaels back with us next week for part 2 of this amazing conversation here on the Ross Report, because we've just got so much to cover and so much more to talk about.
All right, let's run a timeout right now, folks, because we're going to talk about something that, well, JR and I know a little bit about. And that's eating good. Man, we all dread that what should we have for dinner question, though, don't we? Lord knows I know I do. And inevitably, we wind up ordering takeout. It's just the easier option in my household, and it's never really satisfying. I always wind up spending too much money. Just disappointing. I'd rather enjoy a home-cooked meal, but I don't want the stress of having to plan ahead. So Home Chef is here to make it easy, and they really save you money too. Home Chef provides fresh ingredients and chef-designed recipes conveniently delivered to your doorstep to simplify your cooking experience. Whether you prefer classic meal kits with pre-portioned ingredients and easy instructions, speedy recipes ready in less than 30 minutes, oven-ready kits, pre-chopped ingredients, or just quick microwave meals that assemble in minutes, Home Chef has you and the entire family covered for delicious meals without the hassle. Check this out. Home Chef has over 30 options a week, and they serve a variety of dietary needs, so you don't have to worry about what to make ahead of time. Not only is it convenient, it's economical too. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 a month on their groceries. And by the way, Home Chef even has a delicious kid-friendly family menu with 18 new options each week. It is picky eater approved, and it takes all the stress out of dinner time. And right now, for a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 18 free meals, plus free dessert for life. And of course, free shipping on your first box. Go right now to homechef.com/JR. That's homechef.com/JR for 18 free meals and free dessert for life. You heard that right. homechef.com/JR. Of course, you must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. One more time, homechef.com/JR for 18 free meals and free dessert for life.
Back here with Shawn Michaels on the Ross Report. This has been great. It's probably one of the more informative, open and honest shows that we've had in our run here, our long run. I wanted to ask.
So it's easy to be honest when you don't know anything.
Well, that's good though. That's good. Honesty's good. Honesty's good. Honesty usually works. How was your How was your experience on Saturday night at the Hall of Fame with the Clique getting kind of back together? The band got together for a few minutes there. How was that for you?
It was spectacular. It really was. That was the entire reason I was there. I mean, I had an appearance at Access as well. But it was phenomenal. I mean, I love seeing the guys. It was so great to see Scott.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, and I told him this. I said, "You got a smile that lights up the room." And it wasn't a pretend smile. It was nothing was put on. I mean, he was, the smile with the twinkle in his eye and all that, and it was so phenomenal to see. And much like, we got my one buddy from high school, Kenny, and he and I cannot see each other for years and years, and we can pick up right where we left off. And we're all the same way, and Scott was the same way. He's as funny as ever. Nash, of course, is, hilarious. But
Yep.
it was just, I honestly can't recall when I've had a better time at the Hall of Fame.
That's good.
And it was just so great sharing that moment with him and with all the guys. It really was. It was, to say I was over the moon about it was just, it was just great. Because then again, we got to spend all day with each other and then sitting around watching it together and just doing some of the stuff we used to do and laughing and chuckling. It was tremendous.
Yeah, priceless moments, man. Hey, you know what? Kevin is, he's cool. He's too cool for school, and I love Kevin. And Scott, I saw Scott at an appearance last fall, and he was straight and had his kid there, his son Cody. And you never know when guys get clean how long it's going to last. You pray that it's going to last forever, but it's a day at a time. But I've been communicating with him some, with Scott, and I've really enjoyed it. He's so smart, man. He's got a mind for the business that's scary. Really, really, you've got great instincts. But Shawn, the one thing that really struck me at that deal was the fact that Sean Waltman got to be a part of it as well, and right. he was there because look, you were the you're a Hall of Fame guy, and who's better than Shawn Michaels? Nobody. And then Scott Hall finally makes it to the Hall of Fame and gets acknowledged. And Kevin will be in the Hall of Fame someday. Layup. That's a slam dunk. No pun intended. But to see Sean Waltman up there, who's had a great career, but he wasn't the WWE champion. He didn't, he was not that guy. People forget how good he was. And,
right.
And he was very, very good. I mean, really, really good. And he's another guy that's got a great instinct for the business. I was happy to see him with all of his buddies and just thought back to the day. And, I just thought that was just cool as heck that all of
it was. I mean, and it's funny. We all, and it's just amusing how it all goes full circle. We were just reminiscing about, oh my goodness, just what a pain in the butt we were, and I don't know, and now being years later and older, and you can chuckle about it, and those guys, I mean, Kev and Scott and Kid, I mean, they do a number of appearances with each other. That they get to see each other all the time, and I'm just. Obviously Hunter's, at work all the time, and I guess I'm saying it's one of those things. I always feel like odd man out in some respects because I'm just so not in touch with the business, even though I'm, starting doing some appearances and stuff like that. But it's just, when you get with them, or when I get with them, I can get re-engaged to it. I mean, they can re-engage me, but it's mostly just, talking about, again, our lives now, our kids, or whatever experiences, we're going through now. And I guess that's what I enjoy most about, listening to Scott talk about, his son, and, his son, like, rolling his eyes, and, when his dad's talking about wrestling, because he's just dad to him,
mm-hmm.
and all of us, whatever, talking about our kids, talking about adult, older life. And that's just, it's just amusing to me. And that's what I enjoy most about it is all of us sort of all these years later chuckling about, the past and then where we're at now, because they're, they're, for the most part, they're polar opposites. We're all just grown men with kids and talking about that.
Yeah. Oh, that's just great. I enjoy just watching. It was like that voyeur, just looking, and it was just cool as heck. And hey, during your career, did you have any kind of relationship with Warrior?
Just briefly. I mean, obviously when he was on top there, Marty and I were in a tag team, and Warrior was always great with us, always very nice. I mean, I remember, I don't remember all the details, but heck, he invited, I want to say it was Marty and I and a couple other folks to his place when he lived in Arizona, and we went out there and trained and stuff like that. And heck, I can even remember at one time I was going to move just to Dallas, and 'cause it was easier to fly out of there. And Warrior had a home there, and he said, "Well, go by and check it out. I got a place out in Grapevine." It was, obviously I went, and it was a little too pricey for me at the time, but I mean, he was always very nice with us. I mean, again, heard the stories and yada yada yada, and again, we've all got them.
Oh yeah.
And but I got to briefly see him before he went out and made his speech, and just saw him there with his girls, and just like I do with so many people that from my past, I just had to go up to him and tell him, hey, just want to tell you, it's just seeing you here with these two, it's just a beautiful picture, and I just wanted to tell you that. And he says, oh man, I appreciate it. And he said, I always, hear, see interviews you always talk about your family. And I said, well, I realized that, a number of things I did in the past was all dumb, and this is what it's all about. I mean, there's just nothing, in my opinion, all this other stuff, again, is as enjoyable as it is, and these moments, as enjoyable as they are, nothing will be more important. Your legacy is right here next to you. It's, in my humble opinion, it's not out there. It's got nothing to do with rings or belts or any of that kind of stuff. It's those little people you raise. And I just wanted to take the time to tell them congratulations, obviously, on the Hall of Fame, but more importantly, congratulations on the greatest accomplishment of all, and that's being a dad.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it was nice. It was just very nice.
I really regret, that weekend I didn't get a chance to. Our paths didn't cross, because I don't think he didn't stay at the hotel with where everybody else was, as I understand it. At least he did. I didn't see him, and I hadn't seen him since that little cup of coffee he had when he came back around WrestleMania 12. We wrestled Hunter. The night you and Brett had your 60-minute match, and if I'm not mistaken, that's when he came back. And then then I knew him for his second territory. He had a cup of coffee there in Memphis with Sting as a Blade Runners. Then he came to work for Cowboy Bill in the UWF, and he was there a while, and him and Bill got sideways, and then he went to Dallas and became the Dingo Warrior. But I never really got to know him, even in UWF, so I never had a relationship with him, good, bad, or indifferent.
Right.
But I never got a chance to say hello to him. And I say on the show all the time, our tomorrows are not guaranteed.
Right.
Nowhere. Nobody has tomorrow guaranteed. And that really struck me, because I wanted to at least say hello to him, and I didn't get a chance to do that. I regret that.
Right. Yeah. Well, and what, I know there were a number of people that whatever didn't say anything when they did see him, or had bad things to say. And again, I get all that, but I do not waste my time with any of that negativity. And I obviously, being a guy that has no place to judge, I do my best not to do it with anybody else. And to me, I don't care. We've all made mistakes, and I get it, and we've all done and said things we regret. But I don't know how much time I have, and I don't know how much time I'm going to see people, and I just don't waste my time harboring any of that old junk. And
yeah,
I mean, there have been people I've seen at the Hall of Fame that the last time I saw them, they were mean to me, and still, I still make it a point to go up and say congratulations, and I'm sorry if whatever, whatever you want to say is my faith or whatever, or my age, I don't know, but I no longer waste my time with any of that negative stuff, especially when it comes to the wrestling business. But also my personal life, I'm just not going to waste a lot of time harboring any ill will towards anybody. When I get the opportunity, I'm going to do my best to make good on it, and if not, just whatever. Have my last words to someone be pleasant, and
good.
And obviously, not knowing what was coming, I'm very thankful that I did that in Warrior's case.
Yeah. I wish I'd have got that chance. I really do. I regret that. I was looking back at your WrestleMania history, and and I kind of hitting around to some fans on Twitter and on my website about what was Shawn's greatest WrestleMania match, and it's amazing that the people have such a diverse amount of opinions. I thought, just me, that this generation will probably think it's Undertaker because it's the latest thing. Your last two matches at WrestleMania were with the Undertaker, and they don't get me wrong, a lot of people love those matches, as did I. But man, I got Chris Jericho, I got Hulk Hogan, I got Stone Cold, Kurt Angle, Vince McMahon, John Cena, Ric Flair, even the WrestleMania 11 Diesel, and the triple threat match at WrestleMania 20 with you, Triple H, and Chris Benoit got a lot of feedback. Mm-hmm. And you look at that, and man, you see why your body of work is so respected with the boys and the fans, because that list I just read off: Jericho, Hogan, Austin, Triple Threat, Angle, Vince.
Well, I do have to go right to say no Hogan at WrestleMania. That was at SummerSlam. But,
okay. My bad.
I'm nitpicking there, but I mean, you don't know whatever the ladder match with Scott. I mean, that gets mentioned a lot.
Yeah. But they're just a diversity. You made everybody. There was not a bad match in the Hogan match. You're right. That's my bad. I wrote that down. Maybe I was a mark for it. I liked it.
Thanks, so was I.
But everybody had different skill sets. Everybody was in a pecking order. Some green, some overripe fruit, whatever would be nice. Some guys, everything was different. But that's the art of being a great performer, is being able to make them work to your level, and you make sure that you don't put them in a position where they can't look good.
Well, I mean, thank you. And, I don't know, I guess I always, I guess in some respects, I had a style, but I couldn't begin to, like if somebody asked me to describe my style, I couldn't tell you. I mean, one of the things I enjoyed doing was adjusting to, anyone that I worked with. I mean, and I don't know, I also, got some great guys, and I don't know how really it happened, but everybody was it's very easy to do when you have like-minded folks that want to really just, go out there and have the best match possible. And I found myself in that situation a lot. I mean, there were very few times, I don't even know that I can think of any, where any of it was really a struggle, where I really had to, wear somebody down, so to speak, or convince them, of something. And so I don't know. I mean, a lot of it has to do with, adjusting. I mean, I had to wrestle far more with Angle than I did with, Undertaker, so to speak. But that was, I thought that was neat. I mean, that sounded like a fun thing to do.
And Vince didn't have great. Vince's skill sets were unrefined, but he had amazing heat as a heel.
Right. Yeah. Well, and again, you get to make that, sort of no holds barred, and you get to do, anytime you can bring in the toys, that's helpful, and I guess at the same time, concentrating, on the story as well, the psychology and things of that nature. All those things that, that you put together. I always, that was the absolutely the number one most enjoyable thing about the job was, putting the physical, the physical stuff is just sort of the physical stuff, but putting it in the right places and, and so that it would tell the story that you're trying to tell. Like people ask, talk to me about the Flair match, and I always tell people, well, it was a love story that happened to be during a wrestling match. I mean,
wow, yeah.
I can remember writing that out and thinking like, and then it was, there were tears on the page at 2:00 in the morning, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, they're going to look at me and like, they're going to laugh at me like, oh my, what are you talking about? Your fruitcake. But, they, both Rick and Michael, they got it. They got what I was trying to do. And the thing is, the fans got it. I mean, they,
oh yeah,
they did, I don't know, I guess because at one time, I mean, had I done that match maybe 10 or 15 years earlier, they might not have responded that way. It would have been a little too mushy for them. But it wasn't then. And so, I don't know. I mean, I always thought more about that stuff so much than the physical, than the moves or the bumps or whatever. Those are just sort of a backdrop to, the emotion that you're trying to stir in a match. And that's what I always enjoyed most about it was the emotion.
Yeah, the psychological aspect of the story you're telling. When you mouth the words "I love you" before you give them the sweet chin music, I mean, I'm glad I was wearing dark pants. It was a moment, man. I mean, that was, and I've called a lot of matches in a big environments with a lot of key moments, generation changing moments and things. But I never, and I didn't, I didn't come to you before that match and say, "Hey, Shawn, what are you guys going to do?" I didn't want to know. I just wanted to, hey, can I get in the back seat and just kind of ride along? I'll narrate while you guys drive wherever you want to drive.
But then you get to a Jericho and an Angle where you're talking about, it's not so much emotion as it is now. It's competitions between two guys that they I guess people, whatever, dream matches that people didn't think they see or they want to see, and and how they'll match up, and that's a completely different type of mindset, and so I mean, but that's what I always I enjoyed about it is trying to get a number of those different situations, I don't know, I guess to where they weren't too many duplicates, I guess, so to speak, and when you get a scene where people, see the veteran guy against, the younger guy who certainly appears, to be the man, and this sort of a, and that's one of the things I enjoyed about your commentary. I mean, the story's easier to tell from a physical standpoint when you've got, the announcers talking about it being a finishing school, and you know what I mean? And so all those things need to sort of come together, and when you've got a number of talented folks doing it, it's a little easier to do.
All right. Now we love all our sponsors here on the show, but I got to tell you, this one is perhaps JR's favorite. Of course, we're talking about Blue Chew. You've seen the ads. You've heard us talk about it like a million times. And I bet there's a big part of you that wants to try it. It's the OG chewable tablet for better sex. Of course, I'm talking about Blue Chew. It's a unique online service that delivers you the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in a chewable form. Process is simple. You'll sign up at bluechew.com. You'll consult with one of their licensed medical providers. And once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew's tablets are made right here in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door. And the best part, dude, it's all online. That means you get to skip the visit to the doctor's office. No awkward or uncomfortable conversations. No waiting in line at the pharmacy. Take them anytime too, day or night. So you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Blue Chew wants you to have better sex. So discover your options at BlueChew.com. Let's chew it and do it, boys. Listen, JR's got people hanging from the chandeliers. There's clickbait articles about the legend JR has become thanks to getting a little hot tag for his wiener. Put a little hat on that motherfucker, like JR always says to his walk-on recruits. Just back up into it, honey. Blue Chew wants the entire country rock hard. That's what they told me. That's the mission. They will not stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house, until every tent is pitched, until every rod is raised. Gentlemen, start your boners. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code JR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com. The promo code is JR, and you'll receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. And Jim's Wiener. Now let's get back to the show.
Well, look, I want to... I see you tell those stories about these matches, and the ones that I was lucky enough to call, I've become like a kid again. And I get, when you're 62 and you can feel like a kid on any occasion, it's not a bad thing. But man, it just puts me right back in that place, that special place that I cherish. And it was really, think of those matches you had with some of those guys were just, it's hard not to be emotional, and I shouldn't be so old and silly, but it is. So anyway,
and I don't mean to cut you off, but I mean, one of the things, and I guess that's the thing. I mean, it got emotional for me too, and I don't know, I've heard you comment like, I watched him when he first started, but I don't know how many people know that, I knew that, and you knew that. And that is something that I would imagine you, like me, used to our advantage when we were out there. And that's one thing that I always knew. And so your announcing was going to come from a different place with me sometimes than it did with a lot of other people. There weren't many guys that you could sit there and say, I've seen him from the time he was 19. And so there's a growth there that almost nobody in the building is privy to but you and me. And so, and believe me, there are times I was, I don't want to make it sound like I'm Mr. Genius, but knew that I could take advantage of that with you out there. And that affects the delivery, that affects the emotion, and that all plays into what I'm doing in the ring. And so I guess I'm just saying, don't think for a second that I wasn't aware of the value that I got when you were out there announcing, because again, that is, if it means something to you and me, which it does, there's no way that's not going to come across. Yeah. And that's, again, that's one of those things that I like to think was a difference maker, in a lot of those matches that we were talking about.
Well, they were great. Well, what great memories. We look back at beginnings, and you were in the beginning of Daniel Bryan's career because he came to your school. Mm-hmm. Could you see at that time that he was special?
Yes, I knew he was good. I knew that he was very good, and I remember telling him fairly early on, I said, your biggest issue is going to be your size. I said, you're going to have to go through what I went through. I said, but I believe if you stick to it, and I gave him, the old Ted DiBiase line that Ted told me once when I was, frustrated and everything else. He said, eventually talent will rise to the top. And I said, but that's going to be your biggest issue. That's going to be the hardest thing, I said, but you just have to stick with it. But yes, he was a hard worker. He was very talented. And and he really enjoyed learning and getting more information and the wrestling aspect of it, the high flying aspect of it. But he's one of those guys. It wasn't long, and he's watching Japanese stuff. He's one of those guys that could watch everything under the sun. And you put those combinations together, and the only guy that can screw that up is him. And he was a solid young man.
Yeah.
And so I was fairly certain that wasn't going to happen. But you never know. I mean, you don't have any idea what's going to happen, when a person gets in the business. But so no, I've never been surprised at anything that he's done. Now, I guess I didn't know he'd have a big old beard, and that would be and things like that. But I certainly never doubted his ability and his work ethic at all.
Great character and integrity. It looked like on TV. Again, I'm not in the loop, so I don't know. I'm watching as a fan. No problem with that. It looked like several weeks ago, months ago, that you and he were on this. It looked like, hey, maybe Shawn's going to work with Daniel Bryan. That might have. And people ask me, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there. Was there ever? Did you ever have a serious discussion about you and Daniel having a match?
No. I've never. Every time I go back, people joke about it, or I'll get a person here and there that says, if we did this and this, would you do it? And I was, but they're never the decision makers, I guess, is what I should say. And but no, there was never. I saw people on my Twitter, whatever, whatever so-and-so's website saying that, whatever, you're going to come back and the ball's in your court. No, those things were never discussed. The people that need to know where I'm at. And so, no, that's never, no, it's never been discussed. And the only person that has a say-so on whether I will ever wrestle again is me. And I've remained firm where I'm at. So, it's one of those things that, I guess I could play with it every now and then. And every year I could pretend to start the rumor or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I've never done that because it starts all by itself anyway.
Right, sure does.
Even though I have absolutely never once in the last 4 years, going on, I guess, 5 now, ever given anyone even the impression that I was entertaining the idea. So those are just things that come up. And as you know, Jim, I stay out of the loop. I come back. I do stuff. I don't. I have recently, decided that I guess I need to, at least when I go back before I do anything, sort of ask, like where is this going? Because I don't want to disappoint anybody, and I don't want to give anybody. I don't like to mislead the fans or anything like that. But I also just try to come back, do my job, and go home. And so, I know that it did look like that. I guess I always assumed that, they've got a direction, they've got an idea, and some of it was sort of just left out there. You know what I mean? And there was never really much resolution or anything like that. I can say this: there was going to be even less resolution until, I at least, after the kicking him, it's like, can I at least go back the next day and let him stretch me? You know what I mean? And because it was just, I was just kicking him, and then that was, maybe I shouldn't be saying any of this, but then I threw out the, let me stay here till Monday and let him at least, stretch me and get that back. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And, and then I'll go home and you guys can do whatever you want. But I think most of it was just to just add me, throw me in there because, people felt like it was a natural fit. But no, there was never, not to my knowledge. But at the same time, I've also heard that I was supposed to wrestle Eddie Guerrero at whatever it was, the WrestleMania I wrestled Vince, and nobody ever talked to me about that. So, there may be discussions that go on that the internet guys know about that no one ever mentions to me. I suppose that's possible, but but no, I've never given anybody the idea that I was going to wrestle anybody.
Yeah, I tell people that all the time. He's done. He said he's done. He's done. He's happy. Let Shawn be happy. He's happy. Do you miss, if you look back on it, and just this is a couple of 3 or 4 questions and we're done. Do you miss the fact that you didn't have a program with or have a WrestleMania level match with The Rock?
Only. I mean, I can remember many years ago. After I came back, that Pat Patterson had asked about that. And I said, sure. I said, whoever you want. But he wasn't interested, and that was it. And so, but I mean, I liked anybody that I hadn't been in the ring with. I mean, that's one of the things I guess that I do know that from a company standpoint, they always tried to, I think, look at WrestleMania and try to find me something new and fresh and something they thought would be interesting, and that the fans would enjoy. But I mean, no, I never, and as you know, certainly when I came back, I never suggested anything. The only thing I ever, the one that I suggested was the WrestleMania, again, I guess it was 22 events, because I just felt like having a WrestleMania where, I wasn't sort of expected to go out there and tear the house down, so to speak, or to, you know what I mean?
Yep.
To where it had to be this, phenomenal wrestling match. I just wanted to have one where it was just sort of relaxing and fun.
Kind of Wild West. It was kind of a Mid-South match, is that when Cowboy would come out of retirement and have a match, you knew it wasn't going to be, in his level, an artistic masterpiece, but it was going to be emotional. It was going to sell tickets. It was going to be fun to watch. I thought, somebody sent me a tweet the other day that said, of all the commentary, JR, that you've done, you've never done any more passionate commentary than Shawn Michaels and Vince McMahon. And I had never thought about it that way because I hadn't gone back and listened to the match. Someday I will. If I ever write a book and I go hit some of my favorites, I'll go back and listen to that match and see what they're talking about. But it just felt like, I thought that was one of those old Mid-South kind of Wild West, shoot 'em ups. It wasn't
right.
It wasn't Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels, but boy, it was pretty damn entertaining.
Yeah. Well, no, and I think that goes. I think a lot of that lies. The passion from you lies within the relationship with those guys and what you know about them, what you know about the real guys, and so I think that's again one of those things that I told you that I always I knew was going to come and admittedly took advantage of, and but my guess is that's why, because there was a connection to both individuals, and you knew a lot more about both of them than probably a lot of people.
Yeah, I thought it was just amazing. I remember being involved in talent relations, and you'd been home for 3 or 4, I don't know, almost 4 years, maybe more. I don't know. It's a long time. And I'm thinking, I'm talking to these young guys, and we're bringing guys in, and we're recruiting guys and training guys, and bringing these new guys in like John Cena and Randy Orton and these guys. And I find myself, I sound like the old timer I didn't really want to be, but you're trying to give them illustrations, and Shawn Michaels would, and then the young guys. Well, where is Shawn Michaels? Well, he's home, but he could come back. And let me tell you, if he comes back, you just better hope that you're booked with him, because you're going to get better, or you better hope you don't have to follow him, because that's even worse. And I was kind of throwing that around, then all of a sudden, I remember coming down to San Antonio and us talking about you coming back. Mm-hmm. And because my theory was always this. I always thought that people, and maybe it was my naivete, but I thought I knew you pretty good. And I thought that people misjudged you as a human being at certain points of your career because they just heard the bad stuff. And I didn't see it that way. I thought, man, he's got so much to contribute. And then you became a born-again Christian, and I'm thinking, well, the worst case scenario is I got him back in the locker room. He can positively affect a young roster that's very impressionable. And so I was kind of greedy. I wanted you to come back. If you wrestle, cool. But if you didn't, can you just hang out and kind of help these guys a little bit? And, because they'll listen to you, because they're not going to listen to me. That was my theory. And
well, yeah, no, and that's, I mean, and that's, yeah, I can remember you coming down, and yeah, that was not wrestling. That, you know, again, we still thought I was, you know, done then, and physically couldn't do it, and again, it's like, you know, again, I don't know, it's like maybe that's where people thought I was supposed to be coming back at WrestleMania 17 or something like that. I mean, I don't know, I've heard so much stuff, you know, but I mean, yeah, no, I mean, you were just asking about coming back and just doing something, anything on air.
right.
Just an on-air character, so to speak, and we discussed it, and you know, I don't even know that I was, you know, even in a great place then, but it wasn't too much longer after that I was, and you know, and you know, I was never in all those years never cleared to wrestle. Like, even when I came back, I was never technically cleared. That was, you know, I just made that decision on my own, and just felt like I could handle it, having no idea that I'd go another 8 years after that.
Amazing.
No, I mean, that's, well, it's, you know, it's like you said, that you've always said, I always tell people, it's funny, it's like, Shawn, it's not that what you were saying back in those days was wrong, it's just your delivery was not exactly great, you know.
Presentation skills. I remember telling you one, you know, I don't know that you're wrong, but boy, your presentation skills can be a little bit abrupt sometimes.
Right. Exactly. That's the truth.
Oh, well,
oh, my goodness.
We lived through it. Hey, look, I want to thank you for spending so much time here. You know, I was going to talk about the fact that you had these iconic bosses, and Bill Watts and Vern Gagne and Vince McMahon, and did you still keep in touch with Marty Jannetty and all these things that people want to know? And golly, there's a million questions I could go, and this is, you know, could be a series, but nonetheless, I want to thank you for coming on my show. And thank you for all you've done for my career. And, you know, what I think of you as a man and as a father and a husband is a whole lot more important than what I ever think about you as a wrestler. And I said to begin this show, there's nobody that I've ever seen or called a match for that did it better than Shawn Michaels. And I just believe that. And I'll get tweets on that. Well, how can you say that? You're, you know, because I believe it. And so just thanks for taking the time. And you know, if I ever need it on your end, it's just, I'm a phone call away, and you're a very special guy to me. So I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, as you are to me, and by all means, you know, thank you very much. It's high praise, because you've seen them all, and I appreciate it. Guess on a side note, you can let people know, Marty and I do stay in touch. We text each other. He sounds very good right now, which is wonderful. But I greatly appreciate it. And I hope your show continues to do well. I know it will. And, you know, you got some of the best stories ever. And you know all of us, JR.
Hey,
so
maybe
I appreciate all that.
Maybe one of these days, my people can get a hold of your people, and we can do a little tag team on a Q&A out there, and some appearance somewhere. Along the way.
No, I'd love to.
That'd be fun. I think us going on the road and doing a little show here and there might be kind of fun for the wrestling fan.
Yeah, well, I mean, I see you're doing a lot of that stuff. I don't even know how to begin doing that, so you're going to have one of your guys get a hold of my guys and figure out how we can do that, because that would be wonderful.
I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be a good time, and we could entertain the fans and answer some questions and have some good time. I'll talk to you again real soon.
I will. Thank you, Jim. Take care.
Okay, buddy.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what adfreeshows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-free shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that adfreeshows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. adfreeshows.com.